Good evening and a very warm welcome. This is Prime Time News on TV1. I'm Thiruni Karunaratna. We're coming to you live and direct from our Newsfirst studios here in Colombo. Before we head on to our stories in detail, first up is a look at tonight's top stories. Ministry of Energy announces 20% reduction in electricity tariffs following recommendations from PUCSL.
මහජනතාවට සහ කර්මාන්ත ශ්‍රේෂ්ඨයට සහනයක් ලබා දීමට ලැබීම පිළිබඳ අපි මෙහෙමින් සතුටු වෙනවා.
Renewal of bilateral currency swap agreement inked between Central Bank of Sri Lanka and the People's Bank of China. Legal action initiated on 11 controversial cases, including bribery and corruption investigations. A statement from the Attorney General's Department. CID investigates disappearance of 75 T-56 firearms from Army camp. Multiple arrests made. Police recovers several weapons. Met Department issues weather alert for heavy rainfall, strong winds and rough seas. TikTok threatens to go dark on Sunday without US government action. Israel-Gaza ceasefire to begin Sunday morning as Hamas reveals details of the hostage release. On to those stories in detail now. President Kumara Dissanayake returned to Sri Lanka last night after a 4-day state visit to China, which included securing several important investment projects for the country. President Kumara's 4-day state visit to China began on the 13th of January and was conducted at the invitation of Chinese President Xi Jinping. During his time in China, President Dissanayake met with Chinese leaders, including President Xi Jinping, Prime Minister Li Qiang and other senior officials. Several key MOUs were signed focusing on strengthening economic, social and industrial cooperation between Sri Lanka and China. These agreements are expected to bring significant investments and benefits to Sri Lanka. Upon his return, President Dissanayake arrived at the Bandaranaike International Airport in Katunayake, where he was warmly welcomed by a gathering of supporters and briefly interacted with the crowd as well. Minister of Energy Kumara Jayakode announced a 20% reduction in electricity tariffs following recommendations from the Public Utilities Commission. The new rates will take effect immediately, starting from the 17th of January.
අපි රජයක් විදියට විදුලි බිල සංශෝධනය නියාමනය කිරීම සඳහා පත් කර ඇති.
Based on the recommendations of the Public Utilities Commission, which is appointed to revise and regulate electricity tariffs, the electricity tariff will be reduced by 20%, effective from midnight on the 17th of January. This reduction will benefit the general public who are electricity consumers, as well as various sectors, including the hotel industry and the industrial sector. Despite the challenges, we are happy to provide this relief to both the public and the industrial sector.
දරාගෙන ඒ තුලින් මහජනතාවට සහ කර්මාන්ත ශ්‍රේෂ්ඨයට සහනයක් ලබා දීමට ලැබීම පිළිබඳ අපි මෙහෙමින් සතුටු වෙනවා.
The Public Utilities Commission has approved the reduction of electricity tariffs, which will result in an overall 20% decrease in electricity charges. For the domestic sector, the rate for electricity consumption up to 30 units will be reduced from 6 units per unit to 4 rupees per unit. For consumption between 31 and 60 units, the rate will be reduced from 9 rupees per unit to 6 rupees per unit. Other sectors will receive the following tariff reductions: hotels 31%, industrial 30%, government institutions 11%, commercial entities 12%, religious and charitable institutions 21%, street lighting 11%. How will the electricity bills be reduced following the tariff adjustments? Director of Communications at the Public Utilities Commission, Jayanath Herath, commented on this.
Average බිලක් ගත්තාම ඒකක 30ක
Using an average bill as an example, a consumer who previously paid 280 rupees for the 30-unit category will now see their monthly electricity bill reduced to 195 rupees, a 30% decrease. For the 60-unit category, a bill that was previously 700 rupees will now drop by 29%, bringing it to 500 rupees. For the 61 to 90 unit category, the bill will decrease by 19%, while the 91 to 180 unit category will see an 18% reduction. Consumers in the 180 plus unit category will see a 19% decrease in their bill.
නමකින් අඩු වෙනවා.
The clock is ticking for TikTok in the US. A law requiring TikTok to find a new non-Chinese owner or face a ban is set to take effect in just a couple of hours. And if it doesn't, 170 million Americans could lose access to the app that they use for entertainment, news, community, and even business. If a ban goes into effect, what happens to the videos, the app on the phones, and everything else? Newsfirst Budmi Namra Divakara has the details.
TikTok, the biggest topic in the whole world right now. What will happen to TikTok? And what happened to TikTok? Let's have a look. On the 24th of April 2024, Joe Biden, the US president, signed a bipartisan TikTok bill which gave the Chinese parent company ByteDance 6 months to sell its controlling stake or be blocked in the US. So during the past few months, they had a lot of conversations regarding this matter, and tomorrow, the 19th of January 2025, is the deadline for TikTok to sell its US stake or face a ban. And today, TikTok has issued a statement expressing concern over a lack of clarity from the Biden White House and the Department of Justice. The company states that the statements made by both the administration and the DOJ have failed to reassure service providers crucial to maintaining TikTok's availability for over 170 million Americans.
Welcome, TikTok refugee. 欢迎洋斗难民. My Shayla. 太苦了.
If you go back to history, you might remember Dub Smash, Musically, then TikTok, and the most talked topic and the most talked app right now in the whole world is RedNote, which is also a Chinese developed app, which is also the app where the Americans are using instead of TikTok. More than 170 million users are on TikTok in the United States of America. So these days, most of them are moving on and changing their app from TikTok to RedNote. So you might be thinking about how this ban will impact all of us. Number one is tourism, which is where a lot of content creators who are coming from other countries like America, when they come here and when they create content and when they post on social media, especially on TikTok, and moving forward, we will not be able to see what they will post. And the other thing is, if you're using TikTok and if you want more updates, new updates, we will have no more updates coming from the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store.
And with that, the TikTok era comes to an end. Good night.
I hope you had the time of your life.
It's a few more hours left. What will happen? Let's wait and see.
Israel's government approved a ceasefire and hostage release deal with Hamas, paving the way for the agreement to take effect on Sunday and potentially signaling a new chapter in a 15-month conflict that has enflamed the Middle East. Israel's government has approved the new Gaza ceasefire and hostage release deal with Hamas, paving the way for it to take effect on Sunday. Benjamin Netanyahu's cabinet has approved a deal with Hamas for a ceasefire in Gaza after more than 460 days of war, in which Israeli forces have killed more than 46,788 Palestinians and wounded 110,453. Netanyahu's office in a brief statement said the Israeli government ratified the ceasefire agreement early on Saturday morning after a meeting for more than 6 hours. With the deal bitterly opposed by some Israeli cabinet hardliners, media reports said 24 ministers in Netanyahu's coalition government voted in favor of the deal, while 8 opposed it. The Israeli Security Cabinet had voted in favor of the ceasefire deal earlier on Friday. Under the deal, the ceasefire starts with an initial 6-week phase where captives in Gaza are released in exchange for Palestinians detained in Israeli jails, and which opens the way to ending the 15-month-old war. After the ceasefire was ratified by the cabinet, Israeli authorities released an updated list of 737 Palestinian detainees slated to be free in the first phase of the agreement. The list includes several members of Hamas, Palestinian Islamic Jihad, and the Palestinian Authority's ruling Fatah movement, who are serving life sentences. Israeli forces will also pull back from many areas in Gaza during the first phase of the ceasefire, and hundreds of thousands of Palestinians will be able to return to what remains of their homes. Meanwhile, Palestine's President Mahmoud Abbas has said that the Palestinian Authority was ready to assume full responsibility in post-war Gaza in his first statement since a ceasefire deal was announced between Israel and Hamas.
Newsfirst, main sponsor.
International Edu Expo with EdLocate on the 1st and 2nd February. Call us to register.
Back to news here at home. Legal action has been initiated concerning 11 controversial cases, including bribery and corruption investigations. The Attorney General's Department said that several cases related to bribery or corruption incidents have been referred to the Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption for further investigation. The Attorney General's Department said that some cases are facing obstacles in proceeding and discussions are being held with the police to expand the investigations. The department noted that actions related to a few cases that could lead to serious charges are expected to be carried out within the next 2 weeks. Up next is Crime Watch. The Criminal Investigation Department has launched an investigation into the disappearance of 75 T-56 firearms from an army camp.
We believe these firearms are outside the army camp premises. Yesterday we were able to seize 2 T-56 firearms. One of them was recovered from an active officer of the Civil Security Force. He was arrested. Certain officials who are currently in service are sometimes connected to such incidents. We cannot consider this an unimportant matter. As officials are connected to some of these actions, we are carrying out a fully transparent investigation into this and plan on reducing the occurrence of such incidents.
Police said that several of the missing weapons have already been recovered and are now in CID custody. Police said a full report on the case is expected to be released soon. Meanwhile, a member of the Civil Security Force was arrested in Balioya after being found in possession of a T-56 rifle, a grenade and 11 live grenades. The arrest was made by officers from the Colombo Crimes Division, Organised Crime Division. Police said that the suspect was arrested based on information provided by another detainee who had earlier been arrested with a T-56 rifle, a grenade and 18 live grenades. The suspect, arrested on the 14th of January in Balikanda, is currently being interrogated under a 90-day detention order. The suspect had sold a T-56 firearm to an individual in Balioya for 200,000 rupees. This suspect was arrested after police received a tip-off from another suspect who had been taken into custody in Ballampitir with a pistol. Meanwhile, police also discovered a T-56 firearm and 60 rounds of ammunition at a residence in Kotavilla, Mathura yesterday. Due to halted development projects, many rural communities in Sri Lanka are facing severe hardships with basic infrastructure such as roads left incomplete or abandoned. This is today's edition of What Happened to the Village.
What happened to the village?
This is the road connecting Halyala to Dikvalla and Pattipula. Originally built by the local villagers several years ago, the road has served around 80 families who rely on it for daily travel.
ළමයි ටික ඔක්කොම එකතු කරලා ශ්‍රමදායකත්වයෙන් මේ පාර අපි ගමට කැපුවා. ඒකලා මේ අපේ වියදමින් සල්ලි ඔක්කොම එකතු කරලා මේක මැදින් කොන්ක්‍රීට් එකක් දාලා වීල් එකකට යන්න එන්න පුළුවන් මට්ටමට අපි හදාගත්තා.
According to the villagers, the road was constructed with a total contribution of 1.6 million rupees from both the government and the community. In 2022, a new project was introduced to widen the road with an estimated budget of over 15 million rupees, 10 times the cost of the original construction. However, the project came to an abrupt halt halfway through, leaving the road in a state of disrepair. The concrete that had been removed for widening the road was never replaced, and the work on essential infrastructure such as bridges has also stalled. Villagers are now left with makeshift bridges and unsafe conditions.
අපිට මේ පාර හොඳට තිබ්බ එකක්. අපිට දැන් කොතනින්වත් යන්න විදියක් නැහැ. ඒක කඩලා විනාශ කරලා කොන්ක්‍රීට් එක තිබ්බා. ඒක රාතිසින් ටක ගාලා ඒක කඩා තියලා ගියා යන්න ඔක්කොම බැඳගෙන. ගෙවල් භාගිට භාගයෙන් සර් අතාරලා යනවා යන්න. ඇයි මේ පාරක් නේ උන්ට එන්න යන්න බෑ.
මන්ත්‍රීවරු දෙන්නෙක් ඇවිල්ලා මේක විවෘත කරලා ඔක්කොම කරලා තාම මේක හැදුවේ නැහැ. ගියා ආණ්ඩුවෙන් ඔක පටන් ගත්තා. දැන් මේ ඊට පස්සේ ඔක්කොම ගලවගෙන ගියා.
What happened to the funds allocated for the project? The failure of this development project highlights the struggles faced by rural communities who depend on such infrastructure for their daily lives. The villagers continue to wait for the promised improvements, but with little hope that the project will resume anytime soon.
What happened to the village?
While urban areas often focus on issues such as traffic, work pressures and daily conveniences, for many rural families, the most urgent need remains a simple roof over their heads. The Gammadha team in Kegol recently encountered an entire community where basic housing needs remain unmet as delays in a crucial housing project leave families struggling. The Maliboda housing project in Kegol, launched in March 2021, was meant to build 170 homes for low-income families. The government committed to spending 340 million rupees on the project, promising to complete it in a year. But nearly 2 years later, the project is still incomplete, leaving many families in limbo. Today, 230 families who are hoping for better living conditions remain in temporary shelters made of lined rooms far from the homes they were promised.
පවුල් දෙක තුනක ගෙදර ඉන්නවා 10 12 ඒ මිනිසුන්ට টয়ලට් පාසුවක් වතුර අර මේ ගොඩාක් අඩුපාඩු නිසා මේක වැඩ පටන් ගත්තේ. නමුත් දැන් සාම්බලෙම නතර වෙලා. මේ ව්‍යාපෘතිය ඉක්මන් කරලා අදලා ඒ මිනිසුන්ට සාහනයක් දෙන්න කියලා ඉල්ලා සිටිනවා.
A team from the Kegol district visited the affected areas to speak directly to the people living there. They visited villages such as Orupile and Pallebage, where residents shared their frustrations and hardships.
Gammadha, door to door.
Newsfirst, with the people.
The bilateral currency swap agreement between the Central Bank of Sri Lanka and the People's Bank of China has been extended for an additional 3 years. The Central Bank of Sri Lanka and China in December 2024 successfully renewed the bilateral currency swap agreement signed in 2021 for a period of another 3 years under the terms and conditions stipulated in the original agreement. The 10 billion Chinese yen currency swap facility reflects the financial cooperation between China and Sri Lanka. Governor of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, Dr. P. Nandalal Veerasinghe, signed the agreement on behalf of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, while Governor of the People's Bank of China, Pan Gongsheng, signed on behalf of the People's Bank of China. Meanwhile, the newly constructed MCC building, set to serve as the temporary home of the Supreme Court, was officially inaugurated today. The refurbishment of the building housing the Court of Appeal was also commissioned during the ceremony.
The inauguration ceremony, held under the auspices of Prime Minister Dr. Harini Amarasuriya, marked the opening of the Adhikarana PSL 1, the first phase of the larger renovation plan. The newly inaugurated building was unveiled in a ceremony attended by Chief Justice, President's Counsel Murthu Fernando, and Minister of Justice and National Integration, Attorney Harshanan Nanayakara, and Chinese Ambassador to Sri Lanka, Kee Zeng Hong.
The Supreme Court and the Court of Appeal during the last 35 years and has seen its majesty and glory and now its gradual decline. We appreciate with thanks the generosity of the People's Republic of China to undertake a comprehensive refurbishment project of the Superior Court complex, once again on a government grant. Now the first phase is complete. The Court of Appeal will move into its spacious arena and the stage is set to begin the second phase, the refurbishment of the Supreme Court, its registry and its environs.
This project is not just about refurbishing a building. It is about creating a judicial system that is responsive, efficient, and accessible to all citizens of Sri Lanka. Today, the first sub-project of the House of Justice was inaugurated for public use. There are 3 additional sub-projects planned which will provide space for more courts, the Ministry of Justice, and an official residence complex. As we inaugurate this modern Court of Appeal building today, let it serve as a beacon of justice, efficiency, and innovation. Let us reaffirm our commitment to upholding the rule of law and delivering justice to the people of Sri Lanka.
For Sri Lanka Superior Court Complex, originally designed and constructed as a gift by the Chinese government in 1984 and handed over in 1989, has stood for nearly 40 years as a beacon of Sri Lanka judicial heritage and a symbol of the unbreakable bond between our two nations. Following refurbishment in 1997 and 2012, this latest comprehensive renovation ensures that this iconic structure continues to serve its vital role, offering a modern and inspiring environment for the judiciary and the legal professional of Sri Lanka. Just yesterday, I had the honor of accompanying His Excellency President Disanayak on his first state visit to China. The two leaders reached a unanimous decision to jointly advance the building of China-Sri Lanka community with shared future. This is the new definition of our two countries. Together, let us keep our strategic comprehensive partnership, foster a China-Sri Lanka community with shared future and bright, great benefit to our countries and people.
Japanese ambassador to Sri Lanka, Akio Isomata, called on the president of the Mahabodhi Society of Sri Lanka and Chief Sanganayaka of Japan, Venerable Banagala Upatisathero, today. During the visit, Japanese ambassador to Sri Lanka, Akio Isomata, received blessings from the president of the Mahabodhi Society of Sri Lanka and Chief Sanganayaka of Japan, Venerable Banagala Upatisathero, before engaging in a brief conversation.
Japan, Sri Lanka has a long-standing, friendly, cooperative relationship. There are so many things that connect Sri Lanka and Japan. We're having a long-standing economic development partner of Sri Lanka, but at the bottom of our bilateral relations or relations between the two people, there are cultural heart-to-heart bondage. And one of that very strong bondage is Buddhism.
Do you have any idea developed to this relationship in cultural and religion?
Yes, we will continue to be a good partner of Sri Lanka in many ways, not only economic but also cultural. And what is most important is people-to-people exchange.
The National Thai Pongal Festival was celebrated today at the Thellipalai Sri Durga Devi Temple in Jaffna. The National Thai Pongal Festival was celebrated today at the Thellipalai Sri Durga Devi Temple in Jaffna, filled with vibrant displays of Hindu culture, music and art. The event was attended by many, including Indian High Commissioner to Sri Lanka, Santosh Jha, and Minister of Buddha Sasana, Religious and Cultural Affairs, Dr. Hiniduma Sunil Senabi.
The cultural and historical bonds between Sri Lanka and India are both profound and enduring. These deep bonds explain the steadfast support extended by India to Sri Lanka during times of need. India's unwavering solidarity with Sri Lanka, particularly in moments of crisis, is a testament to this enduring friendship. Initiatives such as housing projects and livelihood programs have been instrumental in uplifting affected communities. Moreover, India continues to champion cultural, artistic, and religious exchanges, has been and shall always be an unconditionally steadfast neighbor and a true friend in all of Sri Lanka's pursuits. Thai Pongal Wal Tukal Nandri Banakam.
Sri Lanka is on the cusp of a new and hopeful beginning. We must not forget the collective effort that allowed this new government to take shape. The support you all provided during the recent elections helped bring out this change. From this strong mandate, 3 members of parliament have emerged from Jaffna. I urge all of you to refrain from using decisive language such as nationalism. Instead, let us work together to ensure a peaceful and united future for Sri Lanka. We all share the responsibility of protecting and nourishing this nation, ensuring that it thrives for every citizen, regardless of background. Our country is heading down a new path, one filled with hope and possibilities. We are stepping into a world of new opportunities. Let's come together and unite in rebuilding what has been lost, working hand in hand to create a better future for all.
This government is committed to bringing about real change. We aim to create an economy that offers equal opportunities for all. Together, we will work tirelessly to rebuild and uplift this nation, ensuring that every citizen has a chance to thrive. Today marks an important milestone in our journey towards a better future for every Sri Lankan.
The Met Department says that the rainy condition is expected to enhance over the northern, north central, eastern and central provinces of the next few days, starting from today. Heavy showers above 100 millimeters can be expected at some places in the Uva and eastern provinces and in the Matale, Nuwara Eliya, Polonnaruwa and Hambantota districts. Fairly strong winds of 30 to 40 kilometers per hour can be expected at times over the eastern slope of the central hills and the northern, north central, eastern and northwestern provinces and in the Hambantota and Monaragala districts as well. Issuing an advisory for strong winds and rough seas, the Met Department says the sea areas of the coast extending from Colombo to Kangasanture, via Putlam and Mana will be rough at times with strong gusty winds of 50 to 60 kilometers per hour. Meanwhile, the Sri Lanka State Trading Corporation said that 15,000 metric tons of salt ordered from India will arrive in Sri Lanka next week. General Manager of the Sri Lanka State Trading Corporation, Chamila Iddamalgoda, said that permission has been granted to 2 importers to import salt from India to Sri Lanka. Accordingly, 30,000 metric tons of salt is scheduled to be brought into Sri Lanka before the 31st of January. This decision follows the impact of the last monsoon season on local salt production. The State Trading Corporation said that rice will be imported based on future market requirements, while the government has already imported 7,000 metric tons of rice. A senior official also noted that paddy harvesting has already commenced. Private importers have also brought in over 125,000 metric tons of rice under government authorization. The National Chamber of Commerce of Sri Lanka organized a knowledge-sharing session on the geopolitics and geoeconomics of Sri Lanka. A session on the geopolitics and geoeconomics of Sri Lanka was organized by the National Chamber of Commerce of Sri Lanka yesterday.
You know how to make sausage.
Diplomat Professor Patrick Mendes spoke at the session.
Sri Lanka throughout the centuries has been trading. This is the land of trade. Then goods and services come much later. Tea, rubber and coconut exports. And then we imported the things that Sri Lanka cannot produce because it's a trading nation. So if Sri Lanka can use this the same kind of philosophy, vision and mission of China and the Americans, trading is the best alternative than the other things that we trying to bring the people together.
In Minnesota, my home state, I went to sister company, went 10 years later, but they agree on one thing. America should be a trading nation. The countries, they want to have a socialist war, strike or Aragale or whatever.
The much anticipated Under-19 Women's T20 World Cup cricket tournament kicked off today in Malaysia with 16 teams set to compete for the prestigious title. 6 matches were originally scheduled for the opening day, but persistent rain led to significant disruptions. The match between England and Ireland was abandoned without a result due to the weather. Similarly, rain forced the cancellation of the matches between Nigeria and Samoa and Pakistan and the United States of America. In the opening encounters, Australia secured the first win by defeating Scotland comfortably by 9 wickets. Bangladesh also claimed a victory, defeating Nepal by 5 wickets. In a thrilling contest today, New Zealand triumphed over South Africa by 22 runs. Sri Lanka, led by captain Manudin Anayakkara, is competing in the same group as hosts Malaysia, the West Indies and reigning champions India. Sri Lanka's first match is scheduled for tomorrow against host Malaysia. All matches of the tournament are being broadcast on TV1 and can also be streamed online on www.sirasatv.lk. The 10th edition of the Sirasa TV Magic Ice Cream Carnival officially kicked off today in Birakatia, drawing a large and excited crowd to see the vibrant event. We'll leave you tonight with the highlights of the event. Good night. Visitors are treated to a host of entertainment, from beautiful displays and dazzling magic shows to the classic fun of merry-go-rounds and various exciting booths, with plenty of chances to win prizes along the way. The Sirasa TV Magic Ice Cream Carnival will continue tomorrow as well, promising another day of fun, music and excitement for all.